I don't think that there are two people, certainly in our community and probably on the planet, who are as passionate about ministering to the marginalized as Pastors Jeff and Amy Grubb, who serve as the lead chaplains for the Kalamazoo County Jail. Jeff oversees ministry to the male inmates. Amy oversees ministry to the female inmates. We have had them here before with great reception. Would you please help me welcome Jeff and Amy Grubb to the platform? Thank you so much for being here, and I will let you almost need a degree in engineering to put these microphones on, but they actually flip up kind of over your ears like this. Okay, yeah. And they flip over your ears like that. All right. And as they get settled, I'm going to just kind of ask them, once their mics are on, to tell us just a little bit about themselves and how they got involved in this ministry. I told Jeff that we only have about 4.5 hours for this conversation. But again, they are passionate about their ministries. And Jeff, are you rocking and rolling? Are you on yet? Is your light on? Got the bell switch on the top?
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Test 1, 2.
There you go. Fantastic. And Andrew, you're welcome to join your folks up here if you'd like to. If you're like my son, you're like, please don't even look at me right now. So anyway, well again, definitely welcome. Thank you so much for being here. As we talk about stewardship, this whole month of January, we're talking about what it means to be a deeper disciple of Jesus. We've talked a little bit about how we use our time. We've talked about our relationship to climate justice and the planet. And today we're looking at what it means to minister to the marginalized and to be a friend to those that Christ befriended. And sometimes that's just not even in our wheelhouse. So could you just kind of, and this is, as I said, this is an extremely casual conversation. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about the ministry that you do, the work that you do in the jail, and why you do it?
Well, God called us to it, that's for sure. But we just love it. We're just grateful that we can go into the jail and we can just minister to the men and women there. And it is just a calling and it's such a blessing. We're grateful we can go and just listen and be an ear and have relationships with the inmates and just be Jesus' hands and feet in the situations that we are encountering. So for me, I go and see the women, and I bring a notebook with me, and I take notes on the women and their situations. And most of them are so receptive and just ready to talk about the Lord and to pray over their situations and read the Word together. It's just a huge blessing.
Thank you. Thank you. I have had the privilege, Jeff, of working with you and going cell to cell and talking to many of the men there about Christ. And I have found that oftentimes when people have nowhere to go but up, right, they seem to be a little bit more receptive to the Word. I think sometimes about the person on the corner, right? And I'm not saying that they're necessarily going to end up in jail, but when we pass people on the corners of our streets and they're holding up a sign and it says, homeless veteran, help with food, and we're tempted to think, why don't they just get a job? There are so many jobs out there, or this is most likely a scam. I'm not going to give to that. Can you speak to some of the challenges that they face in just getting a job and maybe help our attitudes toward that a little bit?
I remember when I was a freshman in high school, I think it was, my parents informed me, my dad owned a business, and he informed me that I was going to spend the entire summer working 8 to 5 in the warehouse, in the back of the building. And I didn't think much of it. Then I went the first day, and I remember thinking, wow, I'm going to be here I couldn't believe it. It was such a shock to the system. And everybody kind of just was used to it. And then there was me realizing this is your life. And so what's my point here? My point is a lot of people get depressed, dejected. They would rather be not participating in the system because they don't feel the system's working for them. And so there's reasons for homelessness. Also, people run into hard times as well. All sorts of reasons. But I think what typically happens is we live in a situation where, oh, they made their choice and they're bad. There's a judgment act, like you were talking about, don't judge. I don't know why it's so difficult for Christians, or all people, to understand that not judging really brings deep, deep joy. Sometimes I think people don't even have any idea of how explosive the power of God is right here, right around. And, just doing something really small, like instead of judging this person over there, standing on the corner, like you said, maybe I'll, Philippians 2 verse 3, maybe I'll believe that they're better than me. And the inner peace and joy that brings is people don't believe I'm in graduate school right now, and it's a secular school that I go to, studying medieval theology, and I talk in these terms, and a lot of people just don't believe what I'm talking about. How can you experience such explosive joy just by being with jail inmates? I said, you might not understand that when you make yourself nothing and go be with them, like them, part of their world, and literally serve them, sacrifice yourself. The greatest love is sacrificing yourself for your friends, John 15:13. That there is an ecstasy. The Lord talks about fullness of joy, Psalm 16:11. And this is, you're asking why we do it. This is there is a selfish motive behind it, to be honest. I need it. I need it. Jesus said he came to serve rather than to be served. The King James says minister rather than to be ministered to. It's Matthew 20:28. And that right there is the heart of being a spiritual person. Really a comprehensive message throughout the scripture. So I forgot what your question was, but it's a real, there's a power of God everywhere. And I think we kind of a lot of times just go through our lives thinking, in the back of minds, that's kind of Bible stuff, and does that really exist? And is it really for me? And amazingly, jail inmates often will powerfully grasp this. And it does say in Luke 6:20, ye poor, yours is the kingdom. So it's present tense, it's not it will be the kingdom or something. So I just assume when I talk to jail inmates, you guys are, I don't know if you have $1 million up there, but you're dead poor in here. So I just assume the king, that Lord is invading them. So anyway, long answer. But.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate it very much. You work with men and women incarcerated every day. So in your estimation, what are the most pressing needs of incarcerated individuals that we as a community of faith perhaps overlook? What do they need?
Well, like my wife and I were talking about that specific question last night, and number one is Christian fellowship, prayerful fellowship. And that means acceptance. It does say in Romans 15:7, receive ye one another as the Lord has received us into glory. And the New Bible, I think, say accept, the NIV and so forth, accept one another. And the way I'm reading the book of Romans is written for all people. I think it's Romans says this message is for the entire world. It's not just for the Church of Rome or something. And imagine a world, Brother Kid. I call him Brother Kid. We're actually good friends outside of this setting. Imagine a world where everybody did this. Just this one thing where we did not have the capacity to judge anymore, did not have the capacity to in any way think I'm better than that person. In actuality, like it's just quoted Philippians 2:3, we imagine others as better than self. How do you have a war? How do you get angry with someone who's wronged you? How do you not forgive? How do you think in some way this other person is less than you? You can't. You only can think the opposite. It would lead to a worldwide revolution just with two Bible verses. And the church, the Christian church, is still the largest religion in the world. So why can't we do that today?
So how can you said that the biggest need is friendship, right? And then you said right behind
and
that.
Coach number 3.
Coach number 3, and Christian friendship.
But I'll often say to the inmates, if Jesus were here today, other than being right here talking to you guys, who's he talking to? And I will say the transgender prostitute on methamphetamine standing on Portage Road in the cold right now. And so that's who we'll be with. That really kind of gets the point across. And that's right in the scripture. When Jesus is walking down the road, he goes right past the Pharisees, they have no idea who he is. And the lepers say, Son of God, I want to be made whole. So, how awesome is this message that is right in front of us, and we've all known this for 2,000 plus years. And I think think sometimes it's written where where our minds need to be reduced and not made pride. We're not talking about the high and mighty things. And sometimes I think our culture is the opposite of the scripture. It does say in John 7:7, the works of the world are evil. And then there's no evil in the Lord. So you're going to expect a large difference between the ways of the nations, which are nothing, Isaiah 40. So anyway, the way involved is deep, deep compassion. But most important of all this is people don't know that for oneself, there is, as I said, this explosive joy that exists in imitating Christ. And Christ, number one, is preach, serve. Number one, two, and love all people.
Yeah. So you talked about coming out and some of the challenges that men and women face when they leave the jail. How can faith communities like ours better support families of incarcerated individuals, maybe during their time while they're in? And then what can we do as a church to support men and women when they come back out into the community from incarceration?
This is like the top question right here. In the jail, the inmates basically live like monks. You and I have talked about that through the years. We have a fascination with monastic life so far. This is pretty much what these guys are doing. You have a metal toilet, cement room, couple possessions, maybe earplugs kind of thing, or playing cards, then a bunch of books and Bibles that KJM.zone brings them. So it's a monastic life, and everybody feels the pull of the Lord. Even the one who was worshiping Satan, for example, actual cases I'm thinking of. So that we've got that part taken care of in a lot of ways. Not completely, but that's very successful, very powerful ministry in the jail. We see every inmate every week, and it's explosive. Then they get released. What happens? It is pretty standard that people will leave that life in the jail behind and go back to the old ways. Typically, it is stated that their faith wasn't that real. They weren't really that passionate, they maybe were scared for a while, so they worshiped Jesus while they're in jail, and then whatever. That is not what we believe is going on. What we believe is going on is that this world is contaminated with sin and the works of the devil and the works itself. There's unhappiness and misery all over the place, as we can see, and there's also unbelievable temptation. So people in society don't act themselves. We tell the inmates, when you get in here, this is who you really are, because everything is stripped away, and you find out who you really are. It's you and God. And when you get out, then you're immediately attacked by the ways of the self and the works of the enemy. So that's where the faith community really comes in. To have what we envision at KJM is really partnering with every church. Hey, Steve's getting out, needs a mentor. This is not something you're going to have to spend hours at a time or go in a neighborhood that you are feeling that you're not safe in or something like that, or anything like that. This is something where we want your sacrifice, and when you feel this deep joy of God working through you to help those who have nothing, in many cases, those kind of thoughts just kind of go away. It's just really like, wow, this person right here is the image of Christ. This person who smells, who may have slept in a bunch of bugs last night, hasn't taken a shower in a year. That would be literally the case. That person right there, as Francis of Assisi would say, I see Christ in them. And so to have that pull and then to go work with them, because we've always got people getting out that we need to assign a church to. Hey, this guy Steve, you have somebody you can just check, 2 people you can check in and give them a call. Maybe let's come into jail with us and get to know them maybe a day or 2 first, so you hit the ground running, so you're familiar with each other. People have no idea the explosive beauty that comes. The Lord is beauty, from Psalm 27:4. And we live in a world of there's trees and so forth, the creation is the Lord, but there's a lot of non-beauty. We need it, and this is where it's found, right here. It's not found in things on television. It's not found in ideas of men. It's found in the power of Christ, which is in all these marginalized people that we kind of want to scoot by quickly in our cars. Me and anybody, I'm not pointing out specific people. It's just, we're all busy and I don't have time for that. But to know that doing the works of Jesus and imitating him after the long work day is what joy it brings compared to turning on the TV is, somebody's got to kind of get hooked on that. I remember when I started jail ministry, I was called to it, that's what happened, but I had no idea how real. I was kind of a Christian. I was searching for joy and ecstasy in Christ and a mystical kind of not this, he's a concept, and I believe in it, and now we go watch TV for 94 hours this week or something. I mean, I wanted it to be, like Paul, wrote Damascus, interaction. And this is how I found it happens. I mean, this is something that says right in the scripture, the poor you always have or something of butchering the verse. But this is like an opportunity, There's something like, you think of sin, it's an opportunity to reach out, forgive me, Lord, to get close to Him. Of course, don't want to say, but things that often we think are to be avoided are the avenues of, light shining in the darkness. Anyway.
Yeah, the authenticity, I think, is what hits me the most. Sometimes, just being honest, in our Christian cultures, we kind of sugarcoat things, or we're used to hanging out with people just like us, that believe like us, look like us, have our same socioeconomic situations, But there's an authenticity and a reality in jail ministry and ministering to the marginalized. Just yesterday, I walked across to Westwood, and there was our Narcotics Anonymous meeting happening. And as I was just checking out a room over there, I couldn't help but to hear the conversation of one man and just the raw nature. There's obscenities going because he's just angry and hurt, and I was just so struck and just stopped and prayed, because that's just real life stuff. And I think that this brings us into contact into ministries and people that we don't normally, and it just can change us. And so, I hear you say that we can write letters. So Amy, if a woman came out of the jail, and one of our women here, or men, either one, a woman to woman, man to man, if somebody wanted to mentor somebody, what I'm hearing you say is that you could pair that person up with somebody in our church to have coffee with them or just encourage them in some way. I'm hearing that right?
That would be ideal, yes.
Okay.
We would love that.
All right, so again, another opportunity, if God is tugging on your heart to be a mentor, to get together with somebody who's being released from jail, that is something that certainly, we would welcome you to do.
And because then they'll start the relationship before they're out. So then they'll feel like they have support before they're out, and then they'll have someone that can text them and check in, and to become a friend and build that relationship.
Sure.
And we do have clearance again, as I said, from the lieutenant of the jail to bring, let's say someone says, I'd like to work with someone to get out, to bring them in, to talk to the person for a half hour, maybe 2 times, so you're really acclimated. Hey, I remember we were talking about this, Steve, when you were in V-West 10, cell or whatever. And one more thing, just want to make sure everybody hears, what we're saying is this is for you also. Yes, we want to be selfless servants, carrying our cross and so forth, but the joy that happens will outshine the rest of your life. Also the television shows I was interesting. I'm talking from personal experience, what's happened to my transformation. The things of the culture are like, wow, I'm not feeling that deep power that is with this interaction with this person that has nothing, is tearful, and doesn't even know how to live in society, right, and so forth. So. And
you would, of course, if somebody did say, I want to start with a letter, and then maybe I'd like to meet them, you would be with them the whole time.
Right next to them.
Yes.
Right next to them.
So you can help them.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, we will bring you in. Well, it's like we're a hostess.
I love it. So, as I said, we do these stewardship series in the fall and in January. But you mentioned about having compassion and love. So rather than making this a once or twice a year kind of thing that we just visit to feel good about ourselves, right? How can I, as a pastor, continue to keep this before our people? How can we, as a congregation, develop this culture of compassion for the marginalized in the jail, so that it's not just a hit here and there? What can we do to really make this part of our ethos?
Well, to be in prayer, and also we put out an e-blast where each week we let people know what's going on in the jail, and it's just showing what God's doing in the jail. But at the bottom of the e-blast, we write mission needs. So if you, as a congregation, are called to that, you can see what's needed in the jail. But just praying over the inmates, praying over the team that's on the floor, all those things mean so much to this ministry.
Yeah, and you're praying for someone who many people will hate. Maybe the person's killed someone. I was a whole wing in the jail where most of them, I think, are young men that have murdered someone, or, that's what they're in for, they're accused of. And so to answer your question, in addition to what my wife said, getting a taste for, like my wife says, pregnant, you get a taste for, I actually love this person. Maybe this person killed someone I know. Maybe this person robbed a house of someone I know. To get a taste, to have that deep, deep forgiveness is explosive. I remember the first time I had somebody to forgive from my youth, and it took me a whole summer of praying, Lord, give me do it in me, because I can't do it. I remember when it happened. It was actually in jail ministry setting. We were having a church service, and it was like I had a Jesus high for months after that. It took my whole spirituality up a notch. And, that's like my wife was saying, to pray for those who nobody else is praying for and everybody hates. It's kind of like the leper on the street. Oh, get them away from me. They stink. Compared, no. I'm reaching out my hand to you. God will take care of it, because they're contagious. God takes care of all that. That right there, making that change right there. So it's good to serve others, but it also really brings that transformation that is needed. The whole world needs it.
We had that opportunity, unfortunately, here in our own congregation, to practice that forgiveness, as we had a husband who murdered his wife. So that really rocked us as a congregation to know that happened, and gave us that opportunity to say, are we going to forgive, right? Are we going to harbor this?
Wow.
Absolutely. Well, I certainly want to do that. And the mission needs that you spoke of at the end of your e-blast, and you're talking physical things, right? When we talked about socks and underwear and different things that we can do right now, coats is the primary thing. So friends, if you have not signed up for that e-blast that KJM puts out, again, see them after the service. You can give them your email, and then you can find out what's going on in the jail and how Kalamazoo Jail Ministry is impacting these men and women for the Lord, and things that we can do as a congregation to provide underwear, socks, coats, that kind of thing. Yes, please.
Our e-blast, we have a newsletter and an email blast and a blog. It's all a lot of stories to tell about what the Lord's doing. KJM.zone is our website. It's also KalamaZooJailMinistry.org. We get the same spot, but KJM.zone is easy to remember. And there's a lot of awesome stuff to check out there.
Fantastic. Each one of these conversations that I have, I cannot believe that we're at the end of it already, because we could just spend a long time. It's exciting. Thank you so much. I hope that this has helped at least to open our eyes and increase our awareness that there are people that God has called us to love that oftentimes we overlook, whether it's the person on the corner with the cardboard sign, the person in jail. And I want us to be a congregation that receives men and women coming out of the jail, that we can say, please come and worship with us. We will love on you, because if I know one thing about Westwood, we know how to love on people. We know how to eat, and we know how to love. And so those two things, I think, would be very good. And then to partner up. If you, like I said, if you feel the tug of God on your heart, say, maybe I just want to explore this a little bit. It doesn't obligate you to jump in up to your shoulders, but maybe you just want to put your toe in the water. Jeff and Amy will be happy to help you do that. Jeff and Amy, thank you so much. We thank them for being here today.